let's rock and roll. Welcome to the last class of Basic Ideas of Science of Mind, 2016. And we always begin everything with spiritual mind treatment, so take a deep breath. Let it out. And please continue to breathe. As we know, that no matter what it looks like, there is only one thing going on in the universe. It's life and love and light. It's joy and peace and power. It's beauty. It's prosperity. It's energy. It's creative. Whatever these things are just words that we use to try to describe that which is indescribable. And so we just go beyond the words to it is the one. And that oneness, because it is one, is all that there is. And so knowing that whatever it is, whatever spirit is, whatever God is, it is all that there is. We know that each one of us is created out of that God stuff. That we are spiritual beings made out of spirit, living in a spiritual universe. We know that we are God beings. We are perfect and divine right here and right now. And so we accept that divine nature. We accept that divine life of prosperity and health and wholeness and love and joy and success and happiness. And we simply say yes to all that life gives us, knowing that it is all wonderful and blessed. And in that, we are grateful for having gone through this class, for all that we have learned, all that we have shared, all that we have given and received from each other. And we know that this is one more step along life's path of a continuing evolution of awareness and demonstration of a better and better life each and every day. So with all that gratitude, we just release this treatment into all that spirit is, knowing that spirit is all, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful. So this is the last class. I think is it class 8?
Yeah,
class 8.
We did.
Pardon me?
I survived.
You survived it. Well, Anna comes in from Hickory to come to class, so thank you, thank you. Wednesday, John and I are going to the beach. We'll be back this weekend for Sunday and for Dorothy Leahy's celebration of life. And then we're going back to the beach again, and we'll be back the following Saturday. So that very next Monday is November 7th, and we are starting a new class. You'll get a postcard about it soon, but it is based on the Ernest Holmes papers. And these are private and public lectures that he gave late in his life. One review says it was the last 2 years of his life. I think maybe it's a little bit longer than that, but these were some of the last things he said. And what I like about it, other than it's random, because think about it, he was getting older, he was not necessarily thinking in very logical, clear lines, which I like. He was doing a lot of ad-libbing, and just talking to people and sharing. So I like that it's much more random than any of the other books we've used. And it is short talks. So it's not a big long chapter on something. It's short talks. The very first one is called The Philosophy of Ernest Holmes. It starts out by saying, what is New Thought? What is religious science? And he gives us some good history. He's funny, and they're short. I don't know what to say. The consciousness of unity. Prayer and what it does. What else we got here? They put them all in one book. The Dynamics and Analysis of Treatment. That must be the middle, which is the Anatomy of Healing Prayer. We're going to do some treatment classes and treatment work and prayer partners during that section of it. But it's different. I used these for years in my Prac 1 curriculum because you can really get into some of the subtler points of science of mind. And so we're going to kind of pick it apart a little bit And instead of me getting up and just lecturing on what the material is, because the material is a little bit here and a little bit there, and he just drops a one-liner in there, and so it lends itself more to more conversation, although I'm sure, me knowing me, there'll be plenty of lecture for it. But these are wonderful. How many people were in this thing called You? It was a different way of seeing science of mind. We turned the lights off, we went on a meditation, I read these wonderful affirmative statements about who you are, and that was a different way to get the material in. This is different in that it's not meditative and we're going to have the lights on, but it's a different way of seeing Ernest. He's not polished in that he hasn't had editors go through his writings and take out the personality. It is full of personality in here. And so part of going through this will be to have a real sense of who Ernest Holmes the man is. Because he just rambles. You know, he would get up in front of 1,000 people and he would just start and just talk about this and talk about that, and everybody loved him because he was the real deal. And you could feel that energy, and I like that we have an opportunity to get to know him a little bit. I know whenever we show a video of him or play an audio recording, invariably people say, I've never heard his voice, I never saw him, I never really got a sense of who he was. Well, in these papers, you'll get a sense of who he is. So there are 30 copies on the back in the bookstore, and if you want one of these, you are welcome to buy one tonight, and April's going to have the bookstore open. And if you want to be a part of that class, then 2 weeks from tonight we'll start it. Karen has a quick announcement. Let's do that now before I forget.
I've been gone a little bit. My living situation has changed. And so I'd like to be here. And if anybody knows of a place, small cottage, guest quarters, maybe sharing a house, whatever, but I want to stay in Asheville, and if not, I'll be gone for a couple months and then come back in February. So I have business cards if anybody wants to take one, and keep me in mind. Thank you.
Do you have a place to stay right now?
Yeah, I'm on the sofa, at least until the 27th, and one of the people in the house is going to be house sitting somewhere else, but it's not really my space.
Right.
So,
right. You came into town for Jenny's memorial.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. And you came from California?
No, I have a friend in Ohio where I can stay in a house that I have worked on, but Chillicothe, Ohio is not Asheville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So.
So you came down from Ohio for Jenny's memorial and you want to stay?
Yes.
Good, great, great, great. So if anybody's got an extra room or knows of a rental, then Karen is open for that. Good, good, good.
Do y'all still have Ernest Holmes radio shows
On the website,
on the website? Okay.
I think we have the most complete grouping of them, whatever it's called. Library,
Collection, whatever.
complete selection of Ernest Holmes radio shows on the website. And I love to tell the story about how the archives wanted me to take it down because they wanted to sell them. And I said, no. I said, oh, go ahead, sue me over Ernest Holmes radio shows that I took off of old CDs and digitalized and uploaded to our website, but they were hesitant to go that far. And then they did try to really push us to get it off. I said, I'm not taking these down so that you can make, what, $10 on it? Is your purpose to make $10? Is that what you're here for, the Science of Mind archives, to make $10? No. That's why everything on our website is free. Because our purpose is to spread the teachings of Science of Mind. And every week or more often, I get an email from somebody that found the website and said, this has changed my life. I have nobody around me. I have nothing. I never even knew this stuff existed. And here we have well over 10 years of classes, workshops, Sunday celebrations. We've got books in PDFs and books that I've audio recorded to put up on the website. We have the original Science of Mind textbook that has over 10 hours of audio recordings on it, on the website, all for free, plus one of the most extensive selections of the Ernest Holmes radio show. So, they're old though, don't
Do you
pick
know
about
what
the
time
quality.
period that was?
I think it was in the 50s,
In the 50s.
because they are not in public domain.
Okay.
And I'll give them that, they're not in public domain, but they're in my domain.
You went through all the trouble of doing
I
that.
know, and someone gave them to me who bought them, paid for them.
Oh.
So, I feel like we're good.
Yeah.
Are they copyrighted?
Sure. Yeah,
But if you're not charging,
and still we're distributing,
oh, I see.
yeah, but I love to distribute. I am working on a new book. I'd like to have a winter project, and I may audio record this book also. It's Fenwick Holmes, Ernest's brother. It's called The Law of Mind in Action. And it was first copyrighted in 1909, which was before Ernest did any of his work. And it's fascinating to me how similar the two brothers write, and how they often even use the same phraseology. So Fenwick and Ernest were tight. They wrote The Voice Celestial at the end of Ernest's life, and they were working on this stuff side by side for decades.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be too weird
Too far off.
that they have so similar languaging styles.
Yeah. They probably, because when I taught writing, I had students in the groups, and they all critiqued each other and discussed ideas and how to make them clear and this and that. And so I'm sure that that helped.
Probably a little collusion perhaps.
I'm thinking a little collusion, yeah, yeah. I've heard rumors that Ernest didn't write the textbook, that Fenwick did. But that's never been proven, and really, who cares?
It's there.
I mean, Ernest may have been the speaker, Fenwick may have been the writer, who knows? But at any rate, I found this really great book, and I'm working on putting it into a nice readable form. If you look on the website, the books they all look like a real book, and that takes some doing. So it goes into a PDF, and then it goes into a Word file, and it gets all tweaked and fixed, and then it goes back into a PDF and back up on the website, because Microsoft software is very Western-centric, in that people in other parts of the world have no access to a Word document and are not going to ever have access to a Word document. But everybody can download Adobe Reader for free. That was one of my first lessons in how to be global on your website, is you shrink everything down to the smallest memory you can get so that it can be downloaded on a smartphone in sub-Saharan Africa. And you put everything into a PDF so that anyone can open it up and read it on their smartphone. Most people are on our website on their smartphone. Isn't that fascinating? We don't see that. We get our big computers and we open them up, and we got the mouse and the keyboard and the extended monitor. Most people in the world are on the web on their smartphone.
Are they saying how they're finding us?
They're Googling.
They're just Googling?
Somebody help me, you
So
know?
I'm just wondering, what they would be looking for, or what words would bring up.
Our website has so many keys, what are they?
Key phrases?
Keywords. I mean, we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of keywords linked to our website, and then the more people that find us, the last time we did a diagnosis, it was 40 to 50,000 hits a month. And most people went to 7 different pages on our website every time they entered into the website. So the more people that are on the website, then the more our keywords are up at the top, or we're at the top of the keyword find. So if they're looking for self-help, new thoughts, spirituality, personal growth, all of those kinds of things are on those. Free books, we come up.
Yeah, and here we have it right in our back door.
Right, and here you have me, right in your door. Yes.
We are so blessed.
Yes, you and me both, baby.
Never been any computer on this.
So we are finishing up the book. I had some last minute things happen before class, so I didn't get any of my notes transcribed, so we're just gonna wing it out of the book. First of all, did you like the book?
Yes.
Good. What did you like about it?
Short and sweet,
Short and sweet, yes. Powerful, yes.
to the point.
Right to the point. I like that. When was this copyrighted?
Fit in my pocket.
1957,
That's
yes.
convenient.
Yes, it fit in your pocket. You have a big pocket, sir.
True.
So in chapter 10, he's talking about better living now, and he says one of the God qualities which you inherit is the creative nature of your thought. And so it stands to reason that if, and we'll just use God as a three-letter word, that if God is all that there is, then we must be created out of God. It cannot be us here and God over there, God on the cloud, God outside of us. We must be somehow, and if you don't quite understand it, welcome to the club, but we must be somehow an individualization, a manifestation of whatever God is. Much like, in my mind,
It's a good song.
really, these alter egos, they come and we pick a ringtone. So,
Wrong.
much like the wave is to the ocean. The wave is not separate from the ocean. It looks separate. If all you do is look at above the ocean, you see these waves pop up, kind of the lifetime of the wave. They rise above the level of the ocean and they look like they're separate. They've got curl and motion and fish in them sometimes. They're a part of the ocean. You can't cut the wave out and put it in your pickup truck and take it home with you. Once you remove the wave from the ocean, it's no longer the wave.
They have energy.
Because it has the energy of the ocean enlivening it or creating it. So I like the idea that if you want to try to wrap your head around this idea that we are individualized expressions of spirit, it's kind of like the ocean rises up and becomes the wave. Spirit somehow moves into physical form, becoming us. That there is no separation between us and the divine. And so the same way that the wave has the exact same chemical composition as the ocean does, we have the same qualities that spirit does. So one of the easiest qualities to see is that there is creation. So whatever spirit is, whatever God is, God must be creative. And if we are that same thing, whatever God is, I am, then we also must have the creative ability of spirit as us. And I just love that quantum physics has come into alignment and made so common the idea that reality is not solid at all. It's blinking in and out of form so fast, and there are either particles or waves. And depending on which one we look for, that's what we get. So if we look for a particle, if we look for the world to be hard and fast, like this problem is not going to go away, there is nothing I can do about it, it is set in stone, I'm just going to have to live with it. That's looking for the particle. And so that's what we get. If we look for the wave and say, everything is energy, everything is always changing, nothing is impossible. I know that for every question there's an answer, and for every problem there's a solution. Even if I don't know what it is, I know that it's there. We're looking for the energy and the movement of the wave. That's what we get. And it's a big deal for us to embrace the idea that we are creating our reality. Creating our reality. Seth, back in the 60s, I think, Seth Speaks, the first channel I ever read, said that when you awaken in the morning, you actually compile all of the molecules of the room that you went to sleep in. And that's what you open your eyes to. And in cellular science, they're saying that the body is constantly regenerating itself, regrowing itself, renewing itself. And so as it regenerates, regrows, and renews, what makes it the same bedroom that we went to sleep at? What makes it the same body that we had last week or last month or last year? When we can look for the wave and see the shift, then we can have healings and changes. Those of you who weren't here yesterday, I told the story about Tyre and Larry Williams' grandson and how he was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia. And he's been coming here, coming here, coming here. We love you, we bless you, we know that you are perfect. God is inside of you. He goes into school and says, God's inside of me. And just ever since he was born, being fed these positive affirmations, and the doctors over at Mission Cancer Institute are so excited because this child is growing healthy red blood cells instead of the sickle cells. And he has had so many blood transfusions and had to have his spleen taken out and just so much for a little 5-year-old boy to go through. But he says, God is inside of me. And he's growing red blood cells. What are we looking for? Are we looking for the sickle cells or are we looking for the healthy cells? What we look for, we will find. And so the basic premise, it goes back to the beginning of the book, says your thought creates your experience and you control your thought. So it is up to us to realize that we have the power to manifest our lives and then do the inner work to stay clear on what we're going to look for and what we're going to focus on so that we can experience what we want. And it doesn't mean that if we create something we're bad or wrong. That's where people get tripped up. They say, well, I didn't create this. You're making me wrong for this. I'm not making you wrong. I never had the word wrong come out of my mouth. I said you're responsible, you have the ability to respond to this circumstance, and if it's not you, then what are you going to do? Really, you want to live in a world where either fate or destiny or somebody outside of you decides what your life is going to be like? I don't. I'd rather stumble along and find my way and have it be my way, that I'm the one who gets to do it, than have someone or something outside of me. So the first major idea is that you are the one creating your life, and you have all of the support of life in that. Karen.
Doesn't that negate free will if we really believe that all these other things, we have no control over?
Oh, many people do not believe that they have free will.
Really?
Yeah, it's God's will. God did this.
Or the devil, maybe. Some people say that too.
Yeah, psychologically there's no difference.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, you're right.
Sandy.
That's another thing, God did this, yes, I'm God.
Right. If you want to look at God's will, what could God's will be other than your will?
Exactly.
God's will and my will is one will. And the highest will is health and prosperity and joy and love and peace. But that's not the way many people translate it. They translate it to an outside power that somehow this pain and suffering that they have is being put upon them. You know, enter Job in the Bible, that God is just messing with them. Michael and then Morgan.
Well, I take comfort in knowing that I did this. I used to know a guy, he said, if I'm not the problem, there is no solution.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it's like taking responsibility and saying, I did this and I can undo it and make
Right, just make sure you don't blame yourself and beat yourself up and then you just have your old neurosis with a new vocabulary. Yeah,
Mhm.
Morgan.
So that was my question, because when you take responsibility, how do you bypass that blaming yourself? Or do you,
I congratulate myself on how powerful I am that I can create poverty in an infinitely abundant universe, upset when there's only love, a cold if health is my natural state. I am so powerful that I can go against the forces of the universe because I have free will. Okay, now are you done You ready to let it go and go back into your natural divine state and have everything be great?
I was gonna say that, I guess I got it from you, you said it somewhere, but I think I love that, it really changed my mindset, like, do you understand how powerful you are keeping all this from you? The
Right.
abundance, the health, you know?
It's much easier to
Yeah.
just accept it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so, yeah, it's great.
Good, 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 good. And if you remember years ago when I went on this very long kick of the long chantings, there's only one life. That life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. There's only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. And 30 minutes later, yes. If you look under Better Living Now, in my book, it's on page 83. I have a big star because I found it. And he says, there is one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And I'm sure that's where the chant came from. Yeah, that was when we were building. That was when the economy went through its dance. And that was my chant. That I would just chant it and chant it. And I had my mala beads. And I would just do it just to pass the time and to not let fear get its foothold in me. And people say, well, I don't know what to think if I don't think that. Well, just think anything. Just think it over and over and over and over and over again. Something positive. Whatever it is. Think that so much that you don't have time to think the old thoughts. And remember, then you're actually creating the neurons in your brain to release their hold on negative pattern thoughts and to find a new neuron that goes with your positive power. You actually rewire your brain and it grows together so that the new thought is easier to think. And that's why when people first get into this teaching, they say, this is so hard not to think that old way. Well, that's because your brain has been grown together during that synaptic sequence, which is, oh my gosh, everything is lost. Life is just awful. And then what we do is we force ourselves to grow new, it's not really pathways, it's more like new chains in our brain. It's fascinating. And I love that science is actually proving that. They're actually photographing and charting and proving how the brain literally grows together and then how it pulls apart and how it just, that's when you just don't know what to do. It's just waving around in your spinal fluid in your head, and then it finds a new something to hold on to that's in alignment with your positive statement that you've said 1,000 times a day. And then it grows together, and then you're like, oh yeah, I got this. Well, what that means is that you've grown together a new chain in your brain, a new brain chain that takes you where you want to go, and it's easy to think that way. Sometimes when you get around people that you haven't been around for a while, and you didn't used to notice how negative they were, that was just normal. Now you get around them and you go, oh gosh, it just hurts to be around all of that. That's because your brain's not used to those series of synaptic transmissions. Thank God, you've changed it. And it's not easy to go back to the old stuff. Yay. One of the things that he's talking about is treating for a new idea or affirming a new idea. Sometimes people come up to the practitioners on Sunday and they go, well, I don't really know what to treat for. Or if the word is confused, I'm confused. Well, great, we'll treat for clarity. Well, I don't really know what to treat for. You don't need to know now. What we'll do is we'll know that whatever you need to know is revealed to you in a way that you get it. So you can treat for a new idea. You don't have to have it all figured out. For that matter, some of the best demonstrations in life is when we're kind of free-floating and we're winging it and we're guided by intuition and following, whatever comes up for us. And when we do that, we find that we are on a logical path in hindsight that all fell together perfectly, but we had no way to know that in the beginning. Some people have moved to Asheville on that path. And this, I like this, he talks about the details will come maybe this wasn't it. In here somewhere, it sounds like it's right out of Mae McCarthy's book.
Oh, yeah.
The Path to Wealth. And Mae McCarthy is a student of science of mind and used these teachings to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And her book, The Path to Wealth, that we used over a year ago at our summer prosperity class, has that process where she says, every morning you're gonna have a meeting with a higher part of you.
Senior partner.
Ernest
what he
calls it the senior partner. Remember that book Tony wrote called Partners?
Mhm.
My second husband wrote a book, and I swear he copied the meditation right out. I'm reading it going, I know those words, I know, that's Tony's book. So he wrote a book called Partners about developing a partnership with God, and it's got a contract in it and all this stuff.
Oh, jeez.
But it's the same thing as Mae McCarthy, where in the morning you have a meeting, and it's a meeting of gratitude. It's a meeting where you're saying, good morning, CSO. She has it be the chief spiritual officer because she is in the business world, and she had other officers of everything under the sun except a spiritual officer, so she created that. She created that as an extension of her own psyche so that she could affirm that something was done and turn it over, and the fifth step of treatment, which sometimes is so hard, let it go. Let it go. And then in the book Basic Ideas and in Mae McCarthy's process, there is a section on whatever I need to know, I know. In Mae McCarthy's, it's I'm open and aware to the intuition and guidance that I receive, and if I'm not clear about it, I can ask for more guidance. And in Ernest's, it's, and I know that I get information and things show up and whatever I need to know and whatever I need to do, then I'm aware of that. So it's very much the same thing of Ernest's process in here. And I like that there are more and more things to use in the business world, because I think that if we keep Science of Mind all locked up in a spiritual center and don't take it out, then we are limiting the exposure of it and limiting our use of it. We might as well be running every business in the world on spiritual principle, on stepping forth in faith, on being in integrity with people, on affirming and treating the answers to the solutions, on being run by intuition and guidance, on holding on to principles of prosperity. I mean, wow, what a difference that would make in so many businesses that are not operating at that kind of a level or vibration. So I like that there are more and more things that include businesses. And I also like the idea that everybody who gets involved in Science of Mind uses these teachings in their workaday world, wherever that is and whatever they're doing, that it's the way that we are in the world all the time. It's not just how we are here on Sundays or Mondays or Wednesdays or Thursdays or whatever, but that is the way that we live our lives. It says that when God supplies an idea, He is wise enough to furnish the plan. And I've said that so many times, that you don't get things that are incomplete. You don't get half measures. That if there is an idea, that which is to bring that idea into form must come with the idea. So you're not just hung out to dry. There's not this anthropomorphic deity saying, do this, oh, but I'm going to watch you fall flat on your face. Ha, 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 ha. No, that's a sicko God. What there is there's a wholeness, and in an infinite, you cannot have any, there is no spot where God is not. You know, you cannot have anything that doesn't have everything. So if you have an idea that I want to go into business for myself, then everything that you need to bring that into form must already exist. And then your job is to come into alignment with that, be open and receptive, to do what is yours to do, to step out on faith, to do your meditation, your treatment work, your affirmations, and to allow yourself to bring that into form, but not to hide behind this idea that says, well, it was just a pipe dream. There are no pipe dreams. There are only perfect, whole, complete ideas. And once you have the idea, you can't have a hole in the universe that says, here's your idea, but the completion of your idea doesn't work. That's impossible. It's impossible to hold the space-time continuum together. We would all fall apart. We would just never be here to begin with. Did you have your hand up, Karen?
I was wanting you to repeat one sentence, but I think it's a little hard to rewind.
I have no idea what I said.
I know. So it was like with the possibility of the thought comes everything.
Everything that you need to bring that into
Or you
form
wouldn't have the thought in the
must
first place.
exist in the thought to begin with, yes.
Or you-
In the idea to begin with, yes.
It will not come to your consciousness unless
You can't
there's a
think it.
possibility of it.
You can't think it without it existing at some level in form. And that's why it becomes very important not to indulge in thoughts that you do not want to have in form. I know that was a double negative, but I have great faith in you. Stop thinking things that you don't want to live, either individually or collectively. Well, I'll just curse that person for a little while. No, you're creating that. You're creating that for you. You're creating that in the world. So as we become more and more aware of the power of thought, we become more and more selective on what we choose to think. Jane, and then Tom.
Does that mean that fantasy is out?
Well, not if it's a good fantasy.
Well, certainly, like, I fantasize all the time, but I don't plan on having them come into form.
At some level, they're in existence. What are you fantasizing about, may I ask?
I have all sorts of creative stuff that
Good, they're creative. Would you be okay if they came into form?
Well, if they came into form, they'd be kind of stupid, if you ask me.
Or would you be okay with it? Is it gonna hurt anybody? Is it gonna
No,
hurt
it's
you?
not gonna hurt
You're
me.
not fantasizing about mutilating someone,
Oh, no.
or, those are what I'm talking about. People give themselves a lot of leeway to think thoughts that are not good for them. And you can't say that it's just a thought. It's not. It's a reality. Everything is a reality. And the longer we are in alignment with that thought, the clearer the path to demonstration is. And I don't mean to say it takes a certain amount of time, but you can open up to that thought instantly, or you could open up to that thought, it takes a while for you to work it up. Like I am a multimillionaire minister, and I'm gonna work on that as I have it in my hand. Margaret.
And that would include like watching scary, gory movies
Or the news, or
or
the news.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's scary, gory.
Yeah.
or
scary, that's scary enough.
information about how they're bombing this, and
Mhm.
these people died. that
Right, right. If you focus on war, you'll have war. Whether it's on the news or whether it's in a movie, if you focus on pain and victimization, whether it's in the Nightmare on Elm Street or listening to your friend talk about the phone company, whatever it is, you're gonna create that in your life. You're bringing it into your life. So you have to learn to be discerning, and you don't have to be cold to people. But really, if you're in a conversation where it's going downhill fast, you're gonna go with it. And so you can either go, la 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 la, which I've done right in front of people before, or you could leave. You could do whatever just to get yourself out of that. Do you remember the Olympics when Michael Phelps would be getting ready to swim? He had these big headphones on. He didn't hear anything from anybody except what he had programmed to come through those headphones into his consciousness.
Yeah.
And that is more and more the way it is in sports, that you've got to get your head on right before you can have your body do what you want it to do. So Michael Phelps was very proprietary, is that the word? About his input. And he had it all scheduled and set up, and that was what he did. He didn't talk to anybody, he didn't listen to anybody, he didn't do anything that would distract him from that clear mindset of winning to gold. And then he did things that no other human has been able to do. Except now that Michael Phelps did it, watch,
Yeah.
other people will be able to do it.
Or
It's like
better.
breaking the 4-minute mile, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, a lot of people could break it once it broke.
Right.
Because they believed they could.
Right, 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 right. Tom, then Jane.
I did the earphone thing for 14 years, working at a shop, and it was wonderful. But I'm wondering about this one time when I was minding my own business, having a great time welding in this metal shop, and it got struck by lightning, and it zapped me really good. What kind of thought is that?
Some people would say that's a really big blessing
You know,
to get kissed by
well, I
lightning.
didn't die.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't like to go to Wise. Wise don't really help me.
Well, I did turn off televisions for a year after that.
You are an extraordinary man.
Yeah, I'm so weird, I usually don't talk about it, so.
So
I didn't own a television for 15 years.
Well, I hate it.
God is in the television. Be mindful of what you watch. And know that if you watch something that has negative connotations to it, clean it up. Clean it up. Talk to yourself afterwards. That was a movie. That wasn't real. I live in a peaceful world. Everyone around me loves and supports me. There's only light. There's only love. That kind of thing. If you can't clean it up, don't watch that again. Jane and then Troy.
I use fantasies to remove myself from my reality when my reality is unpleasant. And it works great, but that doesn't mean that I want the fantasies to come.
Jane, you're a writer. And until you let it come out on paper, it's just going to spin round and round in your head. Your mind is constantly creating things.
The what?
Your mind is constantly creating
Oh,
things.
no.
So let it out on paper. Troy.
Lately, I've been trying, I have been expanding my consciousness in different areas and opening myself up to different arenas. In particular, trying to understand not what we were taught was happening in the world, but to try to understand the underpinnings of how the world really seems to exist, where the power comes from, and how it all fits together. I don't understand it, of course, but that's where my mind has been going more and more. So it's a rather schizophrenic life between spirituality, which is where I'm normally at, and then entering into this netherworld of politics and corruption and all this other nonsense. And I guess what I'm hearing, and I have to, it disturbs me a little bit, because I might, through opening my mind up to perceiving that which is in the so-called world, if I'm creating it, I certainly don't want it.
If you're creating what? What it?
Having the thoughts and amplifying the thoughts.
Oh, if you get immersed in politics,
Yeah.
he said, she said, dirty, rotten scoundrels, deceit, hurt, you're going to create that in your life. Now, it may not act out at the level of a political arena, but it will act out in your life.
But, you know, that strikes me, and the old adage, ignorance is bliss.
No,
And-
you want a better way to look at it?
Yeah, I'd
I'll
like
give
it.
you a higher view.
Yeah,
Everything that we see happening in politics right now is a shadow self of each and every one of us. It is our job to look inside and see, and I've said this, where is the Donald Trump in me? Where is the Hillary Clinton in me? Anybody else that pushes your button, where is that in me? How do I do that? We all do it. How are we out for our own personal gain to get while the getting's good? How are we, I'm not even going to go into analogies here. How do we do that? And then what is inside of me that I can heal, that I can bring forth through forgiveness, through clarity, through upping our game, being more in integrity, being more clear, more honest, to see the world as God sees it through our eyes, and to bring that into clarity. And I believe that we can change the political structure of this country and this world just like that, as soon as we all stop creating it the way that it is.
So if I'm understanding this properly, I would be better off adhering to that inner voice which guides me to the spiritual
Always.
part of myself, and elevate myself through consciousness and spiritual thought, and let that plug into universal mind as my little contribution to the
Sure,
to
sure,
the whole.
to the universal soup, yeah.
And that would be better than borrowing trouble, so to speak.
Yeah, because what is it but drama?
Listening to the.
And we get an adrenaline rush from the drama of it. We get an adrenaline rush, we get a biochemical hit
How dare
that is drug natured, and we get off on it. So a better thing to do, go find yourself a mountaintop somewhere and just unplug.
you? Got one.
But I think the better thing to do is to develop some compassion, some forgiveness, some acceptance, and some love for the teachers in our lives right now that are pointing out to us what is yet to be healed.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that, to me, that's the highest road. How does God see political candidates? Because I believe that underneath all of this stuff is someone who does truly want to help people. When John and I were involved in a group called Results, a grassroots political lobbying organization dedicated to ending hunger in children and female literacy and getting rid of diseases that were getting riddable, whatever the word is. Curable or just avoidable. The main premise before you ever went to see your congressman or congresswoman was that this is a person who wants to help. Now they also want to look good, and you have to take that into account.
Yeah.
But basically they want to help. They didn't get into politics just to screw people over. They got into politics out of goodness of their heart. And if you can see that and know that they want to look good and help them look good, they will do all kinds of things for you, because you're connecting on a level that says you want to help and I want to help. Let's see how we can help together in a way that serves you. So I would recommend that you see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and anybody else that pushes your button. We've got a lot of local and state elections going on right now. If they push your button, look inside of yourself, see what is a disowned self, what is a shadow self, how you can accept that, forgive yourself, forgive them, have some compassion, and bring some love into the mix. Because truly, everybody in your life is a teacher, and everyone in your life is helping you, Troy. Just you. They've done all of this just for you, to heal.
Just one further comment. Normally, my mind and my thoughts are quite peaceful. I put out a good vibration, but I do notice that when I do get mixed up and enter into that world, it does bring me down, or it does. I'm feeding off more negative energy than I normally do.
Right, and that's it. You're feeding off of it. You're getting something from that. You know, I distilled it down to a biochemical reaction. You're getting a hit off of it. And plus, it's in the cosmic energy right now, the middle of the circle, in the race consciousness. It's in the race consciousness right now, just like Christmas is. You have the same thing happen at the mall before Christmas. Everybody's all frantic, people are yelling at their kids, nobody's happy, and you go in there and you get hooked by it and walk out and go, I don't even know why I'm mad at the world, but I'm mad at the world. So when you jump into that, understand that you're gonna have to be very mindful of your state, what you're picking up from the energy around you, and try to bring a little higher vibe to it. Try to say, that Donald, you know, somewhere inside of him, he really does want to give people jobs, and he wants to keep people safe, and he wants to make everything right. And that Hillary, somewhere inside of her, she really does want to help people, take care of the children, and all of that. And if you can see that, then it's easier to let the other stuff go.
Yeah.
Because what is it Rocking Bear used to tell me? If they can make you afraid or make you angry, they own you.
They've done your best.
Yeah. Did you have your hand up?
I was just gonna say, it triggers like the, kind of like we were saying, fight or flight, and that's just dumping chemicals in us, and so.
Right,
Bang,
right.
bounce off what you were saying, I mean, I know, I do that too sometimes, like, I'll just get really far down, I'm just like, why am I doing this, and I try, and I pull myself back up, but it triggers that.
Check yourself out. Is your mouth dry? Do you have a bitter taste in your mouth? Is your heart pounding? Are you sweating? That's all adrenaline. And one of the things that you could do to stop the adrenaline process is to breathe. So just take some breaths, and that stops that whole biochemical process. Because if you jump in, you know, you're not helping. So, good conversation. Michael.
Well, I can keep it going. I have a similar thing. I mean, I don't really watch the news, but the last month or so, it's been like crack, man. I even turn off Howard early in the morning so I can listen to the news, and it's like, and I'm listening to these people, right? And I listen to the speech, and then I listen to the newscaster, and it's like, yeah, but that's not what he said. Right, so if you're taking this to put on yourself, it's like, well, am I not doing what I say? I'm not formulating this question, but, okay, so the speech says one thing, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. And the newscast comes on and says something totally, this is what he said, but that's not what he said. So how does that pertain to me and all of this stuff? It's like,
It's not your fault.
right, but what is, right? I understand, you know, be the change you want to see in the world and everything, right? And I think like Trump again, what about like exposing this stuff? Say, look, man, all these kind of things going on right in front of your face, but you don't know it. And here I am to point it out.
So one good thing you've learned over the last month is that the things you hear on TV are not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the things you hear on the radio are not true. That the only thing that is true is that you are a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe with other spiritual beings, that God is all there is. And frankly, all is well. And if you deviate from that, it's a lie, it's not the truth. So people, if it bleeds, it leads. People who want to incite upset because it is like crack, and that means that the ratings will go up, will say things to get you to come back. That's called manipulation. And I bet if you look deep in your heart, you would find where you indulge in manipulation every so often to get what you want. We all do. Michael's not different. We all do that. But while it's a disowned self, and we don't have compassion for it, then we see it in someone else and we attack those terrible newscasters. I can't believe they just lied to my face. Well, that's all about something inside of us that is not healed. Otherwise, someone else watches or listens to the same newscast and goes, oh yeah, that's the media, okay. And you're not hooked. But if they can make you angry or afraid, they own you. Okay? Darcy first.
I was just gonna say, I've been listening to a channeler every morning by the name of Lee Carroll, and one of his latest channels, he talks about how everything in our world conspires to bring us good. that everything is there for our good. And I think that's what I've been focusing on more than anything, because in the past it used to be waiting for the other shoe to drop, and now I'm spending my time thinking about what a wonderful world I live in, and look at all the support I have, and look at all the beauty that's around me, and that's where I've been spending my share of my focus.
Good.
It feels so much better
And
there.
then you get to live in that world.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. He talks about how we've had so many centuries of violence and warring that it's been built into our DNA. And those times are changing now, and we're coming into a new time of light and love, and where people support each other and where things are good, and it's a whole new paradigm in life. And I want to embrace that. That's where I want to go.
Because the truth is, on the fact level of life, that we are living in the most peaceful time in recorded history.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? This is the most peaceful we have been. There's more food for people, there's more shelter, there certainly is more education. People are better off today, even with all the stuff we see, than we have ever been in recorded history. So let's focus on that. Good for you. That's it.
I have fun playing a game with the news to see how far away they have to go to get a tragic story.
Oh, right, right. Right. 6 months ago,
Oh, okay, now we're talking about a bus crash in France. Okay, you had to go to the other side of the world to find a bus
Right,
crash.
right,
Yeah.
right.
You
And there are news medias. One is called Good News, goodnews.com. And they've got wonderful stories about things that are happening right now. Wonderful stories about how people are cutting a fishing line off dying whales, and they jump in joy once they're free, and just great things that we really are as people doing well. But race consciousness, which is the programmed violence, will tempt us to go into a mindset that says, no, the world is out to get me, the other shoe is going to drop, I have to be defensive. Remember, the cell cannot grow and defend itself at the same time. It can't even eat or breathe and defend itself at the same time. So we are in that choosing point, that pivotal point of choice in humanity. Joe.
I was gonna say, it's very interesting, back in the Romans, the Colosseum, we are like obsessed with death, and, back in those days. So, if you keep doing something, we can change our DNA. I can kind of see that, we've programmed ourselves to.
And we can reprogram to peace.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jane, and then Tom, and then we're going to take a break.
I look at myself as a voter, and I want to vote, and I want to vote for the right, to me, the right person or for the right idea. And so that's why I listen to those debates, but I do get discouraged and do turn them off before the debate is happening.
Guidance.
Yeah, I just can't.
You're fine, you're fine.
But the thing of it is that then I like to make up a theory that reconciles what I see and hear with what's going on. And I'm partial to Hillary. And so what I do is, I thought that but I was feeling that Trump makes some really good, interesting points. So what I invent things such as, well, Trump is a good American citizen, and what he's doing is training Hillary to become president of our country.
Great, however you want to wrap your head around it so that you feel good.
Yeah.
And that you don't buy into the judgment and the separation, then that's important for you to do.
Well, that's nifty, and and so once I figured that out, that whole theory, they're both good.
Everybody's good. If there's only good, everybody's good.
Yeah, Trump is doing his job, and Hillary is getting a lot of practice dealing with the kinds of people when she's president.
Okay, okay.
So you're.
Enough with the names, okay, we're keeping conceptual here, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
that's it.
Tom?
Oh, well, my experience is that if you poke around in places where people have really dark secrets and they're trying to, maintain those secrets, you don't really want to do that because they'll zap you.
We all have secrets. And what a wonderful world it would be if we did not have secrets, because secrets are based on, there's something I have to hide about myself from you because I'm not safe. And wouldn't it be great if none of us in this room kept any secrets or felt like we had to hide any part of us? Because the truth is that we are perfect, whole and complete just the way we are. We are made out of love, and love is all that there is. We have never done anything wrong. We did what we did with the tools that we had, the time that we did it, in the circumstance that we were in. And in that exact same moment, we would do it all again. So forgiveness, compassion, and if we are judging other people for whatever, we are judging ourselves for that. So life is a big mirror, so take a good look at yourself. Michael Jackson, I'm talking to the person in the mirror, and allow yourself to forgive, to have compassion, to love. And that will change your life. Let's take a break. Thanks, Breezy. So you may have heard this before. Religious science is a correlation of the laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and the aspirations of humankind. Have you ever heard that before? No?
No.
Ah.
Is that in the appendix?
No, that's in the flyer out on the Welcome Center. It says religious science, what it is and what it can do for you. So Elizabeth and Jennifer, it started out as religious science, as the organization. Ernest had some history with Christian Science. He was ordained through divine science, and he created an organization called Religious Science. The teaching is science of mind. Religious science has evolved into what is now Centers for Spiritual Living. So whenever you hear religious science, I have to stop and think, there are people in this center who have no idea what that is. So that is the original name of the organization, much like Christian Science or Divine Science or anything like that. And Ernest wrote this. How did I get wet? Ernest wrote this. Someone asked him to write a definition of religious science in 25 words. And he just whipped it out, and it's really stuck for a long time. I'll read it for you again. Religious science is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and the aspirations of humankind. And I want to go in the appendix of the book and look at that a little bit. So he says, by philosophy we mean the opinions one holds about the world, life, and reality. Okay. By religion we mean any man's belief about his relationship to the invisible universe. It doesn't have to have the word God in it. And by science we mean the organized knowledge of natural law and its application to life. So one of the things that Ernest was proud of was that this particular teaching organization that he came up with was based on science in that it can be proven. Anybody can do it. It doesn't have a hierarchy of priests and bishops and the people who can touch God and the people who can't touch God. This is an even playing field for anyone, because everyone is already playing on that field. We are all creating our experience. We are all individualizations of spirit. We are all amazing beings, perfect, whole, and complete, right here and right now. And any one of us can choose to use that in a more clear and conscious way to create a life that we want to live more than the life that we have right now. So he talks about this, that this is a science of religion and a religion of science. And then science of religion and a religion of science. So he has taken religion, our relationship with the invisible, and taken it down to a scientific level. That's why it's called science of mind. And while we're doing a little history lesson, it was originally called science of mind and spirit. Why they dropped and spirit, I don't know, because I think that's the cool part of it.
Yeah.
It is the
because it's
science
always
of
talking
mind
about-
and spirit, yes.
They're always talking about us getting out of our head and into our heart, and it seems like it would put the heart part into that. You know, the soul and the spirit.
I don't know why they took and spirit away, but I like it. Yes, Joe?
Maybe, I mean, this is just what hit my brain, right? You said that spirit is mind, mind is spirit. I mean, it's kind of like saying the same thing twice, almost in my head, you know.
Right, because mind is not brain. And that's where we get confused. We think that when we say science of mind, we're talking about the physical organ of the brain. Mind is that awareness, that intelligence, that consciousness that is all things. We live in an intelligent universe, and we are all part of that. We are all connected to each other and everything and everywhere and every when, past and future. But that it's intelligent and it's aware. So that's the mind that Ernest is talking about in Science of Mind. And even I, sometimes I'll smack my temple a little bit to talk about mind. That's not where mind is. Francis used to tell me that all the time. Barbara, that's your brain.
From your
Nobody even here knows who Francis is.
Hey, come on.
I'm working on this, the center is so old now, 22, almost 23 years old, that people that have been very important to me and the life of the center are not known by many of the people here. And for me, it's like being really close to your grandparents and then having a new generation of kids come up and they have no idea the stories and the value and all of that. So I'm just kind of working my head around that.
Inside jokes.
Well, I think inside love, you know.
Don't get in the mud.
Yeah, yeah. So then he goes on to talk about how science, and remember this was back in the 50s, how science has started to discover that the material world is not devoid of intelligence. Because science used to just be, well, there's nothing, that's just a tree, just cut it down, you know, it's just a dead rock, it's this is the way that it is, and there's no wisdom here, there's no intelligence here, there's no spirituality here. And then science more and more became aware of the smaller you get, the more intelligence and life and awareness there is. Until the smaller you get, they actually found something and named it the Higgs boson principle is the God particle.
Oh, yeah.
And they won a Nobel Prize for that.
Yeah.
That they said this is that point where the singularity merges with the whole, and where that which seems to be separate is one, and that which seems to be devoid of intelligence is alive and intelligent. Very cool stuff. So, pardon me?
It's a wavicle.
It's a wavicle, right?
Yeah, we
So Ernest was in the midst of all of this from in California, in Los Angeles, and he used to invite professors from UCLA over to his house and rabbis and priests and all of that. He would have a free-for-all of discussion. And this kind of information, remember, you didn't have television going on, you didn't have it on the radio, you didn't have a lot of books about the new findings of science. It was a lot of word of mouth. And so he felt like he was on the cutting edge of these new scientific discoveries that actually were quantum physics. And he is saying, see, this proves that there is a science in religion, and that we can have a religion of science, so that it's a flat playing field for everyone, that God is in the midst of it all, but that it is provable and dependable, and that you know if you do this, then this is going to happen. And this was big breakthroughs back then. So he's talking about how, wow, when you get down to the ether, he called it, when you get to the ether of it, then you've got that energy and that intelligence of all of life, and it's everywhere and it's in everything. So he was very excited about all of this. And then he talks about, this is what is meant when we speak of a scientific religion. We do not mean that religion is reduced to coldness without sentiment or feeling, but rather that law and order are added to the sentiment and the feeling. We have a perfect right to speak of a scientific religion or a religion of science, but upon what could such a scientific religion be based? It could only be based upon the principle of mind, of intelligence and consciousness, which many outstanding scientists today assert is the ultimate and fundamental reality. He was just on the cutting edge and excited. He talks about the basis or pure concept is that there is an absolute intelligence in the universe, one undivided, birthless, deathless, changeless reality. Since no one made God, and since God did not make himself, that which was, is, and is to be will remain. People love to ask me, well, who made God? What was before God? It's like there's a concept of that which has no beginning, so you can't go to before, because there is no beginning to go to the before of. It's a thing that it defies logic, because it is outside of the space-time continuum that we are so used to referencing to. There is something which always was, which will never not be. Infinity. Yeah, the absolute. The absolute needs nothing to be in relationship with, because all there is it. So it's the absolute. We focus in time and space in the world of the relative. But that's just a tiny pinpoint focal point of where we have our energy condensed into a denseness that we can hold on to physical form. And then when we let go of that, the vibration lightens immensely. That's why we see the light. That's why people feel such joy upon leaving this earthly experience. Jane?
But there's a thing about the observer and the observed, and how the observed changes according to what the observer does.
Right. If you're looking for a particle, you find a particle. If you're looking for a wave, you find a wave. If you're looking for a blessing, you're going to find a blessing. If you're looking for a curse, you're going to find a curse.
Okay.
Whatever you look for, you find. Yes.
Yeah, they do find that the reality changes according to who's observing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's where quantum physics came in.
Yeah.
They would do random number generators, seal the results, and then wait months and go in there and have people meditate on positives, plus positive pluses. Open up the numbers that were generated, because computers only generate pluses or minuses.
Yeah.
Open up the numbers that were generated months ago, and they were more pluses than minuses. They would do the same thing, and people would meditate in the room, minuses, 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 minuses. Open up all the results, and it created more minuses, which proved that you were dealing outside of time.
Yeah.
one of my favorite ideas, especially when it comes to politics. What happens when we are clear enough, when as a human species we are so focused on love that we cannot hold the past of violence, disease, limitation, pain, and suffering? The past has to change, just like the numbers in the random number generator change, based on what you're meditating on.
What you're thinking, huh?
I believe there will come a point in time, this is just Barbara Waterhouse, this is nobody else. But I believe there'll come a point in time in the evolution of human consciousness where we did not have wars, where people did not starve, where we did not have the violence and the pain that we are having now. People say, well, don't you need that to come here? Yes, but once you're here, everything's up for grabs. So I think that just the evolution of consciousness will change all of this, because the past is just as changeable as the future. One of the tenets of quantum physics is that you can change the future by turning right or turning left. You can equally change the past. We just haven't figured out how. But that the past is changeable for a do-over. Isn't that freaking amazing? Just amazing.
I feel like.
Darcy, Joe, and then whoever was over
I
here.
feel like I've experienced that in a small way, just because a lot of the things that happened in my past that were so painful, when I reconciled them in my mind and came to terms with them and let them go, those memories went.
Yes.
They went, they just
Yes.
disappeared. I don't have those same memories anymore. So I feel like I've experienced that in a small way. So
Yes.
I would agree with you 100%.
Yes, yes. Joe.
I think that's cool because that just proves that what you're saying can happen. One of my favorite things, real quick, about the quantum is that we can actually go. The Army used to use it. They find bombs. They have a guy like on the other side of the world. And
Oh,
you
John's
go to
done that
places.
remote viewing.
Yes, remote
He's
viewing.
taken groups of people through
And the
remote
Soviets
viewing,
used to
yeah.
do it. I mean,
Yeah.
we are powerful.
It's real,
And they find missiles and
Right.
things that
Right.
and stuff. with the bomb.
because we are all connected, because everything is already known. Whatever is known at one point is known at all points. Does anyone not know what remote viewing is?
So cool.
So this started off in the military, where people would meditate, they would open, they would set an intention that they wanted to find a missile silo that was hidden underground in, let's just use Iraq, bring it into current time. And they would get images, they would just make their minds blank, get images, get ideas, not judge them, just write them all down, kind of like the visioning that we do here, and bring them together, and they would be able to come up with coordinates, they would draw pictures of the surrounding areas, and they would be able to send a team in and find that exact thing. This was the military. And John's done that a couple of times here, taken us on remote viewing processes where you buy the thing that you're gonna be remote viewing, the longitude, latitude, pictures and all that, and you don't open it up. And then you go through the process and actually see the landscape and can come up with longitude and latitude and find things in the world. There's only one. There's only one. We are not limited. The things that we think are limiting us have nothing on us. We are so far beyond that. It's very cool. Very cool. Who had their hand up over here? Troy and then Jane.
I'm certainly not an expert on quantum mechanics, but it's my understanding that time is a convenience that we use in this realm to distinguish it, and we put it in units, but the units are strictly theoretical. They're within our mind.
Sure, there's only now.
So there's only now, so that everything that happens, that we call this massive stretch of time, happens simultaneously at one time. and can be viewed that way, but not with the five senses that we were given.
Right, and time holds space together, and space holds time together. They're two sides of the same coin. You have to have time to have space, and you have to have space to have time. So right now, we are focused, our amazing beings are focused in this teeny, teeny, tiny point on what's called a space-time continuum in this universe layer. Now, they say there are multiple universe layers going on right here. There are multiple realities going on in this room.
We're existing in more than one.
Right, and we are existing in more than one universe simultaneously. And, you know, what does that do when you need a loaf of bread? It's how can we orchestrate this life in this time and space reality in a way that brings us more into alignment with our spiritual essence, which is that all is love, that spirit is all that there is, God is all that there is, everything is great, there's health and prosperity and joy, and that's the true reality, and that when we bring ourselves in alignment with that, by seeing it in everyone, seeing it inside of ourselves, and acting that way, it manifests in our lives. Because what you look for, you get. If you look at something, a neutral event, and say, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, it will be. If you look at that same neutral event and say, there's a blessing in here somewhere, I may not know what it is, but I know that everything in my life is a blessing, you'll get that. And I just bring up a breakup. What relationship breakup did you have where you could have gone to, this is the worst thing that ever happened, or this is a blessing? And it becomes that to you. And that's what we practice. Put the blessing in it and you'll get the blessing out. Good? Good stuff? Great, great, great. According to our first axiom that God is all there is the implication that there is nothing else beside, he says him, bless his heart. Hence, the entire manifestation of life is an evolution or an unfoldment of form from that which is formless and eternal. And I love that idea. We are unfolding form from the formless. Whatever God is the formless, which contains all form. Wow.
I find that very exciting.
Yeah.
Please say that again.
God is the formless that contains all form.
Just the fact that we're called upon to believe in things that are unseeable, so many things unprovable, and find a way to manifest that into form is just totally exciting to me. I just find that fascinating. And the more you believe in it, the more it becomes reality.
Right. And the better at it you get.
Yeah.
You know, some people say, how can you see that person and call them a blessing? How can you do anything other than just want to whack their head off? Because it's very difficult for people to change the way they're thinking. And yet the more we practice it, and we practice it, and we practice it, the better off we get. The better at it we get, and the better off we are, because we start demonstrating those things that we want to experience. Not necessarily, I want a new car, but maybe a new car. More, I want freedom, and I want peace, and I want joy, and I want love in my life. And so I'm going to focus on that and see that in my world and watch it show up. Joe.
I was gonna say, a lot of it, you know, you said invisible and stuff, and there is people that see auras and all the energy. Like, there's people that see energy.
This is the Oracle of Asheville right here.
It's like, she told me it was kind of like Avatar, when they were walking through that forest. She said she sees Beckwith went on some kind of thing. He was with some shamans or something, and that's what he saw. Like, he saw energy in that kind of, you know, just being how connected.
Oh, you see energy. Everybody in this room sees energy. Haven't you ever looked at someone and went, oh my gosh, what's wrong? It's their energy. Or looked at someone and went, let's picture a child. You see a child dancing in the park. Wow, look at the energy. Look at that life come forth. You see energy. Don't sell yourself short.
Oh, there's levels and levels of that.
I know, Tom, I know. Darcy
I
and
was
Jane.
just thinking about what we were talking about last week and being critical of people, and I was thinking to myself, for everything I've ever been critical about other people, I've done myself, or it's
Exactly.
been in me. So how can I be critical of them when I've done it?
That's called compassion.
Yeah,
That's called compassion, but you have to forgive yourself for having done it.
yeah.
And then forgive them for doing it. We're all, what was that old Fireside Theater album when they used to do comedy on LPs? The name of it was We're All Bozos on This Bus.
The thing is not to have a charge though when you see it, and
If you have a charge, it's unhealed within yourself.
right, and I see things now and I don't have the same charge anymore. It's like, okay, they're just finding a way of self-expression, that's,
Mhm. They're finding their way, they're gonna be fine. We're all gonna be fine. Everything's fine.
everything is good.
Yeah. Jane?
Kurt Vonnegut wrote Slaughterhouse-Five, you know, like during the World War II. And the thing of it is that the hero of it is Billy Pilgrim, and he gets unstuck in time and he just wanders around. But at one point he says, you can see, if you look on the horizon, you can see time and space, and they're all like, it's like a string of beads. And you just pick where you want to go, and then you go there.
Very cool, very cool. I believe that it won't be too long before we're bouncing around in different times.
Yeah.
He got investigated by the United States government because he was seeing things he wasn't supposed to.
Right,
I know.
right,
Yes, I
right,
do,
right.
yeah.
That's right, they have a lot of time.
But, oh, yes, Linda.
You were talking a little while ago very much of things that Gene Roddenberry had on Star Trek, that, you know, rocks have lives, or souls, or energy, or intelligent, or whatever. And it was way back to was it Buck Owens, which the old one, where they got very upset because the man who wrote it had put out plans on how to make these guns that actually turned out, you know, 50 years later to be viable guns. And I mean, their thought process just ahead of ours, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just amazing.
Right.
Everything you saw on Star Trek is now true, so don't worry.
Yes, it's do.
I want the thing with Scotty going, dialysis, how barbaric. And he went,
Yeah.
and she got up and said, I'm healed.
It's coming.
So God as man, in man, is man. What does that mean to you?
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
God is all there is, exactly.
God is all there is.
Yeah.
Have you had anybody look at you a little funny with this idea that you are God?
Yeah.
I find it best to follow it with, but so are you.
That's a good way to follow.
Yeah, so are you, so is everything.
Without any
You don't
Ten
want to say that
Commandments.
at work.
John describes our philosophy as panentheism.
Oh, yeah, we heard that.
So, what did you learn from this class?
There's a lot going on, there's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on here.
I actually learned a lot. I know I missed a bunch too, but I was still practicing when I wasn't here. I talked to my neighbor, I wasn't here since my neighbor pulled a gun and freaked out.
Oh, right,
and stuff,
right, your neighbor pulled a gun, yes.
Yeah, so I went over and talked to him one day when I saw him out there, and I had been forgiving him all this time. I forgive you, I understand, I let it go, and we had a nice chat, and he, you know, he gives rednecks a bad name.
Forgiveness and compassion.
You know. And also I've been watching my thoughts and noticing how, like, with all this news watching I've been doing, I can feel it. Like, I feel off, and like my morning routine is like non-existent. And it's just like, hurry up, coffee, cigarettes, and a radio, and get going. And it's like I explode into my day instead of just chill out, you know, CSO conversation, you know, and so you brought it up in class one day about watching your thoughts and seeing where they go, and I just got these conversations running in my mind, you know, and it's like, you know, like what I would say when I was on that podium thing, man, you gotta set them right, the both of them are retards, I ought to be up in there, you know, and, so, and that I'm mostly laughing at it. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Good, that's the reactive mind. Monkey mind, they call it.
But watching it like I've been,
That's what all three
I'm
made
less
for.
likely to get caught up in it. It still happens, I just don't get caught up in it as much. I can look at it and say, there's
Right.
my old friend said.
Ah, my old friend, who thinks you know more than everybody else because that old belief was that everybody is an idiot. Except that didn't create a good life, so you changed that. And when those old thought patterns come up, you just go,
There
you
are.
again. Okay, no, I'm done with you. Everybody is wonderful. And that gives you a better life. Yeah, good work, Michael. Good work.
The smart monkeys are calling it the human mind.
Probably. Who else? What else did you learn in this class, Margaret?
I became aware of some hidden beliefs that I didn't know that I had.
That's good.
And was able to reverse them with the forgiveness and releasing and positive affirmation.
Good for you. Good for you. Joe?
I'm gonna piggyback off that a little bit too. I think that was a big impact for me. And even just hearing everybody else, it's like, oh, I got that too, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, that brings
Oneness.
me. Yeah, yeah. And that really kind of loosened me up. I let some of the chains and stuff go. And I just recently read something that scientists, and I know this, you probably said this too in class, 95% of what we're doing is old belief systems. We're just running on a program system. It's just over and over and over. People wonder why they live the same day over and over and over.
Right.
So I thought it was really cool.
We call it new thought because you're supposed to have one.
The first thing that you ever taught me, of course, was affirmations. And it's been amazing to me to realize how far I've come. I still have ways to go, of course, the half-baked cake scenario, right? But I'm enjoying, I'll always be here on Monday night class as long as I can, of course, because you can teach something similar, but it's never the same class. And I'm always enjoying tweaking and fine-tuning things, so, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Your cake is coming up quite nicely.
Thank you.
Troy?
It was nice to read a small book. Everything was condensed. It was earnest, condensed earnest. Just add a little bit of a minimum of time and absorb. And it's the same stuff that I've been processing over and over and over again. But every time I process it, it sticks a little bit more. It becomes a little more ingrained. It becomes part of the thought, and other thoughts where the light shines seem to disappear. So it's a process that's seemingly unending, but it's a great step.
That's wonderful, the dark thoughts. Can I call the other thoughts the dark thoughts?
Yeah, sure.
Where the light shines, they seem to disappear. So your job is to shine the light.
But,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
Good for you, good for you. Anna?
Yeah, I learn a lot every time that I come here. I feel that I give I give like a little step forward in my life, which is not easy for me. because it's two languages at the same time.
Right.
Treat my thoughts and everything, but I do my job, yeah.
Good
And
for
I'm
you.
happy to be here.
Not only do you drive in from Hickory, but you translate everything that is being
Oh,
said.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, thank
I'm
you.
glad you're here.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's what, a couple of hours, huh?
Yeah, I don't mind distance.
Yeah, that's great.
What did you learn about your bodies? Remember we started off with your thinking and health.
Take care about
Yeah.
our bodies.
Don't you remember?
That was 2 months ago.
Thank you, Michael.
The fact that you're creative and that your thought is creative, and then the very, very next chapter was your thinking and health. Cherry.
I know that my body listens to what I'm thinking. I know it does. Because I have made myself feel better, you know, if I'm sick or whatever. And I know that what I went through 5 years ago, I know that it's gone.
Yeah.
I just know that it's gone.
You were born to heal.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And healing is a revealing of the truth of the health that you already are. It's not like you have to go find your healing or your health, it's there all the time. But we have free will, so we can focus on the darkness even while we're standing in the light. Yeah. Good for you, good for you. Are you doing a quick review there, Morgan?
Yes, because you're right, it was the first chapter.
Yes.
So long ago.
Jane and then Betty.
You can organize your body.
Yes, you can.
And it's funny, when for quite a while, a year or two, whenever I wake up in the morning, I'll say, today is a happy day and my health is perfect.
Good for
And
you.
you know, it really started becoming that.
Jane, you used to walk with a hunched over, uncomfortable gait, and you stand straight today, and you walk with purpose and intention.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's true, it's true.
Great.
Good for you. Betty,
I learned that I can love my body just the way it is.
just the way it is. If you
Yay.
can't love it now, it's never gonna happen.
Just the way I am.
Yes, I love myself the way I am.
Yeah.
I love myself the way I am. Who else? What about your thinking and finances? What did you learn about that?
We create that too.
You create that too. Really? How much money you have is reflected in what you are thinking. If you think thoughts of lack and limitation and poverty, you are going to demonstrate that. But even more than that, if you look at yourself as something that has no value, how can you hope to accumulate value on the outside? It's not going to happen. You have to see yourself having great worth, and then you have to act like that and talk that way and live that kind of a life. If you buy lemonade from a kid, if you buy popcorn from the Cub Scouts or cookies from the Girl Scouts, give more. Always overgive, outgive your space. Is that the phrase from Wallace Wattles? Overfill your space. And what you do is you set spiritual law in motion, because the choice there is to say, no, I've got to hold on to it because I don't have enough. So you have had a thought, a word, and a feeling, and that's going to manifest. The universe goes, you don't have enough. What do you mean you want to do that? You don't have enough, because you're going, I got to hold on to it. And that doesn't mean that you don't have sound fiscal policies. I had somebody once come into my office and they were really mad at me. They said, I've done everything that you told me to do, and I am broke and I am in debt. I said, what did I tell you to do? They said, you told me to act prosperously. So I've put $40,000 on my credit card. I said, I never told you to put it on your credit card. I told you to demonstrate it. So they were really mad at me. They left. Because you know it was all my fault.
Somebody to blame.
Really.
It was their idea.
So whatever you hold within you manifests on the outside. It's the inner first and then the outer. So be mindful of what you think. Certainly listen to what you say. If you have to go to not let it out, do that. And then teach yourself how not to even think it. But get a hold of your thoughts. Get a hold of your choices in life. Ask yourself, you want to use a why question? Why am I doing this? I usually ask myself, what is going on here? It's a common question in my head. What is going on here? What am I doing? What is happening? What are my thoughts? What are my beliefs? What are my choices? Where is this road taking me? Is this where I want to go? And it's better for me to ask myself early rather than at the end of a long trip when I get to the coast and go, I didn't want to go here. Now I got to turn around and get back to where I was. So it's better to be mindful, to think about what you think about, to listen to what you say, and to choose wisely what you want to focus on, because whatever you look for and whatever you focus on, you're going to collapse into form in your life.
Pretty amazing how quickly the answers come back when you ask yourself those questions.
Exactly, it's embarrassing sometimes. So we talked about you determine your welfare. Who determines your welfare?
I do.
Who determines your welfare?
I do.
We had a member here named Gina Woody who moved here from Colorado, and she recently moved back, but she has 2 children. And she was going through the house once when she was here, and she said, oh, it would make Mommy very happy if you would pick your toys up out of the living room. And the older little boy, I think his name is William, looked at her and said, who makes Mommy happy? Who makes Mommy happy? Don't lay that on me. And I thought, boy, there are plenty of adults that would have loved to have that one. Yeah. So you're in charge of your life. It really is up to you, but you have all of the support of all of life. You know, the universe will lift you over any obstacle. The answers are always out there, and you have access to that. The amazing wealth of this life is trying to beat your door down, and it takes more effort to hold it away than it does just to say, okay, love me. I deserve this. I'm going to let myself off the hook, and I'm going to live this life that I really want to live because I deserve it. And then things just start pouring in. It's really wonderful the way that life is supporting us. People think, oh, I have to do all this work. Not really. Most of what we do is to stop screwing it up, to stop keeping it away, to stop staying separate. Once we just stop that, that's why little kids are so joy-filled. They haven't learned how to turn it off yet. Once we stop turning it off, then that which has always been there for us is right here. So the good news is that you get to choose your life. The good news is that life will give you whatever it is you choose. That's called a win-win. Any other questions before we close?
Yeah.
Take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hands. And what I know is that each of us is blessed. Each of us is loved. Each of us is perfect just the way we are. And so I know that we give this gift tonight out of our fullness, out of our love and our joy, out of our love for this center, for this teaching, out of our trust and faith that whatever we give, life takes, multiplies it, and gives it back. I know that the best of us goes with this gift, and it permeates the walls, the floor, the very air itself, to put our energy into this building so that when people come in, they feel it. And that which is within them quickens and awakens to their own spirituality and their own greatness. I know that each of us comes together this night to make this center all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Breathe it in, there's gold dust in the air. The entire universe conspires for your good. Things are already in the works to lift you, to open you, to bless you, to heal you. Open up, breathe it in, take it in, say yes. Yes. Say yes. Yes. Thank you. Let's see if you're listening. Because truly it is life's delight that we prosper, that we are in good health, that we are loved beyond our wildest dreams, and that we live the God life that we were always meant to live. And so I know that everything in these baskets is blessed, whether I'm holding them in my hand or not. I know that everything that we have given has taken that spiritual essence that is us, and it brings it with the gift. So I see it as golden light that pours forth from each and every one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And I know that that energy, as it moves in our life, it touches us, it blesses us, it heals us. And then it goes on out of this room to cover this world, to touch and bless and heal every being on this planet. I know that the energy is always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love you. Have a wonderful week off, and I'll see those of you who are going to be in class in 2 weeks.
You have a wonderful week.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Go catch some fish.
Bye, Dana.
Bye.
Yes. Will you take this with you upstairs? And the card for the camera. Right.
I know, this is
She's singing it over there.
Do we leave that for Wednesday or not?
Huh?
Do we leave that for Wednesday or not?
Oh, shit, yes, we do. Oh, who? Oh, shit.